to a song that I learned in Israel in Rabbi Raz's congregation, and one that is, I think, just really the key to this whole wonder that has happened here as I look out at this kehillah, at this community. Katonti mikol hachasadim umikol ha'emet she'asita et avdecha. Katonti mikol hachasadim umikol ha'emet she'asita et avdecha. כי מקלי עברתי את הירדן, ואתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. כי מקלי עברתי את הירדן, ואתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. I'm too small for all the kindnesses and for all of the truth that you've done for the one who serves you. I'm too small for all the kindnesses and for all of the truth that you've done for the one who serves you. For with just my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I've grown into two separate camps. Oh, save me now, oh, save me now, oh, save me now. With just my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I've grown into two separate camps. Oh, save me now, oh, save me now, oh, save me now. So that's the Israeli singer Yonatan Razel, who arranged that. Save me from what? Does anybody remember where that's from? It's from the Bible. It's from the book of Genesis, Bereshit. It is Jacob's prayer after he comes back from Lavan's house, after he comes back from serving Lavan for 14 years for love. He is on the way to meet his brother, Esav. And he is so frightened of what will happen when he meets his brother. Fortunately, I'm in touch with my brother. And I have my nephew. Where did they go? All right. They went to run around. That's okay. But Yaakov, was so fearful of meeting his brother that he said, we're going to divide ourselves into two separate camps. And I'm going to send everyone else kind of along. And I'll only take, just myself, maybe a couple of close people, and stay back. Because what if Esav decides to attack? And so he was at the crossing of the Jordan. He comes back to the Jordan after 14 years, and he says, I crossed this river the last time with nothing but my walking stick. And here I am again. I've grown so wealthy. And yet, the metaphor of being in two separate camps isn't just that the wonder that he felt at having so much, but it was also the fear he felt at coming back, at facing his brother, whom he had sort of cheated, if you will, out of his birthright, and out of reconciling that family and taking the risk of seeing what would happen when he faced Esav one more time. And so when Yonatan Razel ends the song, Save Me Now, well, save me from what? That's actually the beginning of the next verse in Genesis. Save me from my brother. Save me maybe from my fear of my brother. And so we in the Jewish community today, I think, are very, very rich. We're very wealthy. We have a lot. Both here and in Israel, we have very, very much. And I think we have so much to be grateful and thankful for. And when I look out today and see this beautiful community, I also feel the same way personally. So we have Jacob, and we have the Jewish community, and we have the way kind of I feel personally right now, which is just so wonderful. But we also, I think, in the Jewish world today, have a set of splits that we need to address. And we have fears, perhaps, of coming back together. We have fears of what somebody like me might do, because I'm in favor of interfaith marriage, and that's part of why we're all here in the Brown Room at Harvard Divinity School on this wonderful occasion, and not at a rabbinical school graduation. And I give thanks every day for that. But our community is afraid of each other, and we're a family, and we have a family dysfunction in our Jewish community, and so we're afraid to come back together, and we say, save me from the wrath of my brother. Save me from the wrath of my fellow Jew. I pray this prayer. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who are not very happy with me that I'm up here right now at Harvard Divinity School. Save me from their wrath. It's going to be difficult for me in my career to deal with that wrath. And there's wrath, believe you me. May it be God's will that my wrath is not anything to be afraid of. I hope to make of myself more of a peacemaker than a war maker. Sometimes that's difficult when you've had some difficulty. And that's a challenge that I think we each have to deal with. So I might pray on behalf of others that we all be saved from the wrath of the other, from the wrath of the one who feels wronged. In our Torah portion, I told you it talks about mold and leprosy. And I didn't want to talk about all of the details of that. Is there some approval in the community? Can I get some approval? Is there anybody, we'll take a vote, is there anybody who would rather I talk about the details of mold and leprosy? One? Okay. A couple of my fellow students of Talmud, Thomas? Okay, Thomas, the other option is that we could talk about one thing the rabbis say about leprosy, and they compare the discussions in the book of Leviticus about this, sort of skin disease, and they say, no, they're not talking about a skin condition. People get sick and they get better, and that's what medicine is for. But what we're talking about is kind of a spiritual disease of a very particular nature. And if you look at the story of Miriam with Moses and Aaron, the people kind of grumble, and Miriam, Moses' sister, once again a family dispute, ends up speaking negatively about Moses, and God strikes Miriam with leprosy. Her hand was white. White as snow, white as paper, which signifies, by the way, that the white was probably not the skin color of the people in the story. The white skin was seen as it was really like a diseased kind of color. And then God, Moses prays for her, this El Na Rafan Allah prayer, and God cures Miriam. But the leprosy is connected to the negative speech for the rabbis. The disease is not the skin. The disease is the social disease of negative speech, of speaking negatively about each other, of judging people harshly for no reason, of letting our own personal aggressions and our own personal arrogances hold sway over the greater imperative to judge people charitably and to say, I may not agree with you at all, but I love the fact that you're here. I see a multi-faith community here in this room, which is just wonderful. I see many people I know from synagogue. I see Jews. I see people who are not Jewish. I see people who have a deep, deep belief in Jesus Christ as the risen Lord and Savior. And I see people who are of just a wide, blessed variety of great religions of the world. And to have the respect, as I think we do here at Harvard Divinity School, to say, you know what, I don't actually share your belief. There is, I think, and Reb Zalman was absolutely right, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, that there's a great deep well of truth that is shared by all religions, and which we call deep ecumenism. And I think that's absolutely right. I think it's also right that I say, you know what, I love you as my brother, even though we don't share the same beliefs in some ways at all. Our beliefs may in other respects be very different. And that is, and it's so special to me to see people who are both Jewish and non-Jewish here with me today. Now, if we can do that, if we in this community can be what we are today, in a multi-faith, a multi-hair color, a multi rainbow of different heritages and beliefs and practices and philosophies about the world, then the Jewish community can do it too. And the world community can do it too. We managed. You know what? It wasn't even hard. I think you might find by the time the evening's over that it's actually really a great deal of fun. And that it's a great learning experience, and it just fills us with joy to be with people who we agree with, and with people who, in some ways, we may not fully agree with, but that we love. And that, I think, is what Moses and Miriam found. Jacob and Esav, I think, maybe a little bit less so. I think that story is interestingly left a little bit open to interpretation, whether or not they really did reconcile or whether they just kind of left it on a cold simmer. And my prayer is that it will be God's will that, certainly in our world we reconcile. One of the things I'd like to do in my rabbinate is to serve what I think is God's will, that our Jewish community reconcile. And that these, we talk to the hand in our Jewish community far too often. We boycott each other, and we say, we're not going to listen to you, and we will not talk to somebody who's from Israel, or we will only talk to people who are from Israel. Or, somebody who has a certain point of view can't be in a synagogue. Or, if you're an interfaith family, maybe you're not in the right synagogue. And this, this leads to a lot of division, and it leads to a lot of walls. I feel just the same way about it. I mean, really, the wisdom of our future. You know what? But let me. I feel just the same way about it. But I think that when Eli is older, I hope that we will have created a world where we don't have to fear the wrath of the other within our family, within our Jewish family, or within our world family. I hope that when Eli is older, I hope that you'll grow up into a world that's better. We don't have very much time. Do you guys know that he's getting bigger? Do you know that when I flew back from Israel in December of 2015 to be at the bris, Eli was like half that size. Isn't that so? He was like half that size. And some of you have had children. I have not yet had this blessing, and Eli's really kind of my first nephew. And I see that he's getting bigger. So you know what? The clock is ticking. We need to create a better world for this guy. And so I don't want to hear that, it's going to take 20 more years. I don't want to hear that, now isn't the time, and, that we don't have a partner for peace or for discussion or for whatever it might be. And those aren't excuses that work for me, because you know why? Because the clock is ticking. Because somebody over here deserves to grow up into a world where we don't have to fear each other. So I want to invite you to work together with me for the rest of my God-given life to bring that about. And I know that I'll be working with many of you, I hope with all of you, to bring that about. And to bring this family together, to heal the rifts that have developed. Sometimes in a family, people with all the best intentions develop into rifts. It doesn't have to be that somebody's evil. I think in our Jacob and Esav story, that's a complex story, and nobody's good or evil in that story. And sometimes when people's feelings are hurt, we need to take initiative to have some difficult conversations, but you know what, also to say, I'm not going anywhere. We don't have time to scratch our heads wondering why the pews are empty. I don't see empty pews here. But I know a lot of people are kind of saying, why isn't anybody coming to services on Saturday? Well, I'm not going to kick anybody out of my synagogue. Everybody's welcome. Now, each of you is welcome. You're welcome here. I'm happy that you're here. You're welcome any given time we pray together, and you're welcome in the activities that we do together. And that, I think, is the way that we're going to counteract this fear, because we need to see each other, and we need to be with each other, and we need to work with each other. And that's how we're going to get to a world where we don't have the negative speech that's making us ill. And that's how we're going to get to a world where we don't have the divisions and the rifts that break our skin, that, yeah. We're going to create a better world. Do you want some water? We really are. Yeah, that's my promise. And I hope that each and every one of you will join today in that promise. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.